Have you ever wondered if love is enough to conquer all? Today, we're diving into a story that puts that very question to the test. It's the story of Mark and Liza. Two people whose love story took an unexpected turn, teaching them both a lesson they'd never forget. Mark and Liza's relationship was the kind you see in movies. They met in college, and from the first moment, their connection was electric. They finished each other's sentences, shared the same quirky sense of humor, and dreamed of a future together. For 5 years, they were inseparable, building a life filled with laughter, inside jokes, and a deep, genuine affection. To everyone who knew them, they were the perfect couple, destined for a happily ever after. Mark was a kind, ambitious guy with a passion for graphic design, while Liza was a vibrant, practical woman working in marketing. They balanced each other perfectly. But as we all know, life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. After graduation, they moved into a small apartment together, excited to start their professional lives. But the real world hit them harder than they anticipated. Mark struggled to find a stable job in his creative field. It took on low-paying freelance gigs, working late into the night, but the income was inconsistent. Liza, on the other hand, quickly landed a well-paying corporate job. At first, the financial disparity wasn't a big deal. Liza was happy to cover more of the bills, believing in Mark and his talent. She'd often say, "Don't worry, honey. Your big break is just around the corner." But months turned into a year, and then 2. The financial strain started to create tiny cracks in their perfect relationship. Conversations that used to be about dreams and future travel slowly turned into tense discussions about unpaid bills and dwindling savings. Liza grew increasingly stressed. She loved Mark, but she also craved stability. She started making subtle comments, suggesting he find a real job just for a while, something more practical. Each suggestion felt like a small jab at Mark's passion and his pride. He felt like he was failing her, and the weight of that feeling was crushing. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday evening. Another one of Mark's freelance clients had bailed without paying, and rent was due. The air in their apartment was thick with unspoken tension. Liza came home exhausted from a long day at work, to find Mark staring blankly at his laptop. She sighed, a sound that carried the weight of months of frustration. "Mark," she began, her voice strained. "We can't keep doing this." "I can't keep doing this." Mark lit up, his eyes filled with a mix of hurt and desperation. "What do you want me to do, Liza?" "Give up on my dream. I want us to have a future," she cried, tears welling up in her eyes. "A real one, not one where we're constantly worried about making rent. I love you, Mark. I really do. But love doesn't pay the bills." The words hung in the air, cold and final. In that moment, they both knew it was over. The breakup was heartbreaking. It wasn't because they had fallen out of love, but because the pressures of life had become too much to bear. They packed up their shared life, piece by painful piece, their love story ending not with a bang, but with a quiet, defeated sigh. After the breakup, Mark was completely lost. He had not only lost the love of his life, but also a part of himself. For weeks, he barely left his new, much smaller apartment. He was haunted by Liza's words. Love doesn't pay the bills. He started to believe she was right, that his dreams were foolish and impractical. He almost gave up on design entirely, considering applying for any generic office job he could find. The vibrant, ambitious Mark was gone, replaced by a shadow of his former self. His friends and family were worried, but he pushed them all away, wallowing in his heartbreak and self-doubt. One night, while scrolling aimlessly through his old design files, he stumbled upon a project they had dreamed up together, a series of illustrations for a children's book. Seeing it brought a fresh wave of pain, but also something else. A tiny spark. He remembered the joy he felt creating it, the passion that had once defined him. It was in that moment of deep despair that a new resolve began to form. He decided he wouldn't let this heartbreak destroy him. Instead, he would use it as fuel. He was going to prove to himself, not to Liza, but to himself, that he could succeed on his own terms. This was the beginning of a profound transformation for Mark. He poured all his energy, all his pain, and all his love into his work. He started a daily design challenge, posting his creations online. He networked relentlessly, reached out to potential clients, and took online courses to sharpen his skills. He worked with a discipline he never had before. Slowly but surely, things started to change. His online portfolio gained traction. A small design blog featured his work. Then, he landed a significant project with a tech startup. It wasn't a multi-million-dollar deal, but it was stable, creative work. It was a start. Through this process, Mark wasn't just building a career. He was rebuilding himself. He learned to be self-reliant. He found validation not from a partner, but from his own accomplishments. He discovered a new, quieter confidence that wasn't dependent on anyone else's approval. He started going to the gym, picked up new hobbies, and reconnected with friends. He was healing. He still thought of Liza from time to time, but the sharp pain of the memory had faded, replaced by a sense of bittersweet gratitude. The breakup had hurt, but it had also forced him to grow in ways he never imagined. 3 years went by. Mark was now the co-founder of a successful small design agency. His life was completely different. He lived in a bright, spacious apartment that he had decorated with his own art. He was financially secure, respected in his field, and, most importantly, he was happy. He was in a new relationship with a woman named Chloe, an architect who understood and celebrated his creative spirit. Their love was different from what he had with Liza. It was calmer, more mature, built on a foundation of mutual respect and independence. One sunny afternoon, Mark was at a local coffee shop, sketching in his notebook, when a familiar voice said his name. Mark. He looked up, and his heart skipped a beat. It was Liza. She looked almost the same, but there was a weariness in her eyes that he didn't recognize. They exchanged awkward pleasantries, catching up on the last 3 years. Liza was still at the same company, having been promoted a few times. She mentioned she was single, having just ended a long-term relationship. As they talked, Liza looked around at Mark's confident demeanor, his stylish clothes, the easy way he talked about his work. A look of regret flickered across her face. "You've done so well for yourself, Mark," she said, her voice soft. "I always knew you would." There was an unspoken question hanging in the air, a hint of what if. She then said something that took him by surprise. "You know, I've thought about you a lot. I think I made a mistake." In that moment, the old Mark would have felt a surge of triumph, a desire to say, "I told you so." But the new Mark felt only a calm sense of closure. He smiled kindly. "Liza, what we had was real, and I'll always cherish it. But that breakup, it forced me to become the person I am today. I had to learn to stand on my own 2 feet, to believe in myself when no one else did." He then gently mentioned Chloe, his new partner. The finality in his tone was clear. He had moved on. Seeing the genuine happiness in Mark's eyes, Liza finally understood. She had wanted security, but she hadn't been willing to weather the storm to get there. She had let fear dictate her choice, and in doing so, she had lost someone who truly loved her. It was a harsh lesson. She had assumed Mark would always be there, waiting for her to come back once he was successful. But life doesn't work that way. People grow, they change, and they move on. Mark's success wasn't for her. It was for him. As they said their goodbyes, Liza felt a profound sadness, but also a sliver of understanding. She realized that true love isn't just about sharing the good times. It's about supporting each other through the struggles, believing in each other's dreams, even when they seem far-fetched. Mark had learned to build his own happiness, while Liza had learned that you can't put a price on love and loyalty. Their story serves as a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest lessons in love come from the relationships that don't last. What do you think? Did Liza make the right choice at the time? Or did she give up to ice? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This story really makes you think about the balance between practicality and passion in a relationship. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content just like this. See you in the next one.